Welcome to Ace My Exams Learning. Let us get started with today's learning.
Question. When calculating gross domestic expenditure, GDE, errors and omissions are accounted for by the A. Market price, B. Residual item, C. Basic price, D. Input cost. The correct answer is B. Residual item. When calculating gross domestic expenditure, GDE, errors and omissions are accounted for by the residual item. This refers to a category in national income accounting that captures discrepancies or missing data in the calculation of GDP. Errors and omissions can arise due to various reasons such as statistical discrepancies, unrecorded economic activities, or inaccuracies in data reporting. Question. The vertical difference between a trough and the next peak of a cycle is known as A. Amplitude, B. Extrapolation, C. Moving average, D. Length of cycle. The correct answer is A. Amplitude. The amplitude of a cycle refers to the vertical difference between a trough, the lowest point, and the next peak, the highest point, of the cycle. It measures the magnitude of the oscillation or variation within the cycle. Question. The Minister of Finance presents the Medium-Term Budget Policy Statement, MTBPS, in every year. A. February, B. June, C. April, D. October. The correct answer is February. In South Africa, the Minister of Finance presents the Medium-Term Budget Policy Statement, MTBPS, in February every year. The MTBPS is a key document that outlines the government's fiscal policy and expenditure framework for the next 3 years. It provides an update on the economic outlook, revenue projections, and spending priorities, and sets the stage for the annual budget presented the following year. Question. The difference between tangible exports and tangible imports is called A. Trade balance, B. Current transfer, C. Reserve assets, D. Trade deficit. The correct answer is A. Trade balance. The difference between tangible exports and tangible imports is called the trade balance. It represents the net exports of a country, calculated as the value of goods and services a country exports minus the value of goods and services it imports. A positive trade balance indicates a surplus, more exports than imports, while a negative trade balance indicates a deficit, more imports than exports. Question. The worldwide interfacing and interaction of economies, will trade as an important element, is called A. Nationalization, B. Centralization, C. Globalization, D. Devaluation. The correct answer is C. Globalization. Globalization refers to the worldwide interfacing and interaction of economies, with trade being a crucial element. It involves the increasing interconnectedness and interdependence of countries through the exchange of goods, services, information, and capital. This process is driven by advances in technology, transportation, and communication, which enable greater economic integration and cultural exchange on a global scale. Question. The form of tax that is levied annually on the market value of residential office and factory buildings is called A. Capital gain tax, B. Property tax, C. Transfer duty, D. Estate duty. The correct answer is B. Property tax. Property tax is a form of tax that is levied annually on the market value of residential, office, and factory buildings. It is a local tax imposed by municipalities or local governments on property owners based on the assessed value of their real estate. Question. A geographically designated area that has been set aside to develop specific economic activities is known as a or an A. Industrial base, B. Export processing zone, C. Industrial hub, D. Special economic zone. The correct answer is D. Special economic zone. Explanation. A special economic zone, SEZ, is a geographically designated area that has been set aside to develop specific economic activities. SEZs offer favorable economic policies and incentives, such as tax breaks and simplified customs procedures, to attract businesses and investment. The goal is to stimulate economic growth and development within the designated area. Question: the Human Development Index, HDI, of a country with the highest level of development is A. 10, B. 0, C. 1, D. 100. The correct answer is C. The Human Development Index, HDI, is a composite index used to measure a country's level of human development. It ranges from 0 to 1, with 1 indicating the highest possible level of human development. The HDI takes into account factors such as life expectancy, education, and per capita income to provide a comprehensive measure of a country's development. Please match the items in column A with the corresponding description in column B by writing only the letter. 1. Real flow. This refers to the movement of goods, services, and factors of production among economic participants. The correct answer is E. 2. Deregulation. This entails the removal of laws and government control that interfere in market functioning. The correct answer is G. 3. Accountability. This is when a person is required to explain their decisions or actions. The correct answer is A. 4. Specialization. This focuses on the production or provision of a specific type of product. The correct answer is I. 5. Trade neutrality. This refers to the payment of subsidies equal to import duties paid by export producers. The correct answer is F. 6. Human Development Index. This is used by the United Nations to compare living standards among different countries. The correct answer is B. 7. Intellectual property. This refers to the legal ownership of copyright, design, patent, or trademark by an individual or business. The correct answer is C. 8. Life expectancy. This refers to the number of years a newborn infant is likely to live. The correct answer is D. Question: give one term for each of the following descriptions. 1. Occurs when the value of intermediate products is added to the final product when calculating GDP. The correct term is double counting. 2. When all the people who are actively looking for work are able to find jobs or create jobs for themselves. The correct term is full employment. 3. The price of one currency in terms of another. The correct term is exchange rate. 4. Measures that artificially restrict the movement of goods and services among countries. The correct term is trade barriers or protectionism. 5. When the central bank convinces commercial banks to act in a manner that is desirable to the prevailing economic conditions. The correct term is moral suasion. 6. The total industrial capacity of an economy that is available for use. The correct term is capacity utilization. Question: name the two factors that determine the size of the multiplier in a two-sector model. 1. Marginal propensity to consume, MPC. This is the proportion of additional income that households spend on consumption rather than save. The higher the MPC, the larger the multiplier effect, as more of each round of spending contributes to further rounds of income and consumption. 2. Marginal propensity to import, MPI. This represents the proportion of additional income that is spent on imported goods and services rather than domestically produced goods and services. The higher the MPI, the smaller the multiplier effect, as more of the initial spending leaks out of the domestic economy. Question: how can the South African Reserve Bank use open market transactions to increase money supply? The South African Reserve Bank utilizes open market operations, OMOs, to boost the money supply by purchasing government securities from commercial banks and financial institutions. These purchases are funded by crediting the reserve accounts of banks, thereby increasing their available reserves. With higher reserves, banks can extend more loans to businesses and individuals, which in turn expands the overall credit in the economy and increases the money supply as these loans generate new deposits. This influx of liquidity also lowers short-term interest rates, stimulating borrowing and spending, and fostering economic growth. Study the graph below and answer the questions that follow. Question: identify the category of consumer goods that recorded growth in the third quarter of 2022. The graph does show that durable goods were the highest expenditure category throughout the whole period depicted, Q4 2021 to Q3 2022. Question: give one example of non-durable goods. An example of non-durable goods is food. Question: briefly describe the term consumption. Consumption is the act of purchasing goods and services by households. Question: why are savings regarded as leakages in the circular flow model? In the circular flow model, savings are regarded as leakages because when money flows from consumers to banks, it is taken out of the financial cycle. This reduces the immediate spending on goods and services, decreasing the flow of money from households to firms. Question: how can an increase in interest rates influence households in the circular flow? Increase in interest rates can lead to the following influence on households in the circular flow. 1. Reduced borrowing. Higher interest rates increase the cost of borrowing. As loans and credit become more expensive, households are less likely to take out mortgages, car loans, or personal loans from banks. 2. Lower consumer spending. With increased borrowing costs and a greater incentive to save, consumer spending on goods and services tends to decline. Study the extract below and answer the questions that follow. The privatization and restructuring program in South Africa. The South African approach to privatization has been one of restructuring of state-owned enterprises (SOEs). The goals of restructuring have been to reduce government borrowing requirements and to extend private ownership to historically disadvantaged groups. However, little has been achieved as restructuring efforts have been slow and reluctant. Question: identify a term that refers to parastatals. The term that refers to parastatals is state-owned enterprises (SOEs). Question: give one feature of public sector failure. One feature of public sector failure in the context of South Africa's privatization and restructuring program is slow and reluctant implementation of reforms, which may be attributed to lack of motivation. Question: briefly describe the term nationalization. Nationalization is the process whereby a government takes over the ownership and operation of privately owned enterprises, converting them into state-owned entities. When a business is nationalized, the government assumes all responsibilities related to its management, operations, and financial obligations, often with the intention of aligning the enterprise's activities with national economic and social goals. Question: why is it important for the government to remain in control of key input sectors such as energy and transport? It is important for the government to remain in control of key input sectors such as energy and transport for several reasons, as outlined below. 1. Provision of public goods. Key input sectors often provide public goods that are non-excludable and non-rivalrous, such as clean energy and transportation infrastructure. The government is better positioned to manage these resources for the benefit of all citizens, ensuring broad accessibility and equity. 2. Economic management. Control over essential sectors allows the government to manage the economy more effectively. It can use these sectors as tools for economic policy, such as stabilizing prices, controlling inflation, and steering economic growth in desired directions. 3. Protection of natural resources. Government control ensures that natural resources are managed sustainably and responsibly. This is particularly important in the energy sector, where the extraction and use of resources have significant environmental impacts. Government oversight can enforce regulations to protect the environment and promote renewable energy sources. Question: How can the South African government benefit from the privatization of state-owned enterprises SOEs? Privatization of state-owned enterprises SOEs in South Africa can offer the following benefits to the government. 1. Increased tax base. Privatization can expand the tax base as private companies generate profits and pay taxes. This additional revenue can enable the government to fund more public services such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure development. 2. Reduced fiscal burden. State-owned enterprises often require financial bailouts when they struggle financially. Privatization shifts the financial responsibility to the private sector, relieving the government of these burdensome expenditures. This allows the government to allocate funds more efficiently towards essential public services rather than propping up struggling enterprises. 3. Improved resource allocation. Privatized enterprises are driven by profit motives and competition, which generally leads to more efficient resource allocation. Private companies are incentivized to streamline operations, invest in innovation, and improve productivity. This efficiency can contribute positively to economic growth and development.
To access more learning and exam preparation materials, go to www.acemyexams.coza. This link is also in the video description below. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to subscribe and be the first to know when we upload new videos.